Alright, here we go. This is part 3, Defiant 28 build series. We're going to, in part 1, we glued together the wing pieces here, the blunt section and the 2 wing panels. Part 2, we laid out and cut in our spars. Part 3 here, we're going to glue them in, weight it down, and let it sit overnight. Okay. There it is. Okay, so I use Z6000 on this one, I guess. I've used white Gorilla Glue, Welders, E6000, Goop. Anything with a nozzle you can stick in the slit right there. It's going to work just fine. If you have melted out your spar channels with soldering iron, some of the thicker glues, Goop, E6000, Gorilla Glue, just to fill in the spaces here. So make sure I got it all cut out, ready to go. One point here, when we get to weighting everything down, I want to be sure that the 2 halves of the wing beds can come together, and I don't want this edge here to stop them from compressing any, so I'm going to take my knife and just trim a little bit of that off, just to make sure that there's a gap there. So just trimming like 1/8 of an inch off, just to make sure I can get some compression. Doesn't matter which side you trim it off of, just trim it off of one side. For the center, I'm going to go off the top. And back, take some off the wing panel too. And just want to test it, be sure. Let's check it out. I got a nice trim some off of this one right here. Still too close. All right. Let's begin. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this nozzle and we're just going to stick it in the cut slit there for the spars, and we're going to inject the glue into every single one of them, and then we're going to press the spars in, get them in as well as we can, flip it over and repeat, flip it back over, put it in the bottom of the bed, alright, video stopped for some reason right before I started injecting the glue into the slot, so just started using this E6000, and I've gone along and I've injected the glue into all the slots, and I've actually already installed the front spar. So you can see I got a bunch of glue kind of oozing out of the slots there, so let's just continue on. Hopefully this doesn't stop on me again. I guess I'll just have to check it periodically. Okay, so I got the front spar in. I've used my, where is it? Here it is. My blue popsicle stick here. To just kind of press the spar, and you'll see with the other ones as we go along. You want your spar to be pretty close to the surface of the foam, without bulging it apart and distorting the surface for maximum strength. It's really the foam between this top spar and the bottom spar is going to form basically like the web of a beam, and the thicker that web is, the taller that web is, the stronger the beam structure is. Okay, that's basically how these spars act. So we're going to put the crossbar in now. We want to make sure that we're overlapping the front spar. Okay, so kind of in position, and you just press, and you'll find that it just slips right in there with the glue in the slot there. It just goes right in. Okay, just like that. Good. Now we'll do our rear spars. There we go. Just press. You see that in the video? There we go. Sorry if some of this is out of frame. I don't have a high-tech setup here. Okay. So where the two spars cross, it's obviously a thicker stack up there, but you can still barely see the spar there. I'll show you there in a minute once I get this in. So that's in there pretty good. If you find that, like that side spar that I just put in, I'm scraping just excess here off. This side spar that I just put in here, it looks like there's no glue on the top of the spar. So what I'll do is I'll go back over it with this E6000 and just squirt a layer on top, scrape it nice and flush, and let it dry like that. What I was saying was you can kind of see how you can see the spar bulge there, but it's not above the surface there, so it's good. Okay. So one last spar on this side, and then we'll move on to the other side. Oops, that's a crossbar on for the other side. Whoops. Okay. Press that in there. That's good. So controlling the depth of the spar is part of the reason why we wanted to control the depth of our cut. If you make a ½ inch deep cut, well, you could potentially push that spar a ½ inch deep into your foam. And in some cases, there's just not a ½ inch to work with. Okay, so. Alright. Let's just scrape this a little bit. So before I go in and fill these in, I'll do the other side. I'll glue up the other side, and I think I'm going to grab a fresh tube for that. It's easier to squeeze. Still rolling. Alright, so branded tube, okay? Thinking that I should have. Oops. Yeah. See, I screwed up. I gotta recut this one. See, I wanted to cut this off, and I put the spar right there, so that's a bad spot. I just have to fill that in with glue and recut these here real quick. Glad I caught that before I moved on. Let's see. So, where's my marker? There we go. I was trying to wrap up that first or the second video without taking that much longer, but apparently I just went too long and rushed at the end. So what we'll do is make sure that's in the right spot. Okay. So what I'll do for those slits that I've already cut, I'm not going to put a spar in it. I'll just run a bead of E6000 in those just to close them up, seal them up. Wing will never know the difference. Some wing designs actually use a double crossbar here for incredible strength. This doesn't really need it though. So just make sure we're open. Okay, we're gonna start gluing now. So I'm gonna run a bead down the miscut slots here. Yeah, the wing will be a fraction of an ounce heavier because of it. Oh well. That's what they say, right? Like about measuring twice and cutting once. I break that rule all the time. Let's cut cross slot, crossbar slot. Did I already do that one? Yeah, maybe I did. I don't know. Did it again. Twice is better than once, right? Okay. So let's do the actual spar slots now. Bits in the nozzle there. Clean those off. So when you're doing this kind of work with the white Gorilla Glue, you got to work fast because that stuff could start setting in, you know, about 10 or 15 minutes. It starts really foaming up and getting to a point where it's setting, and you gotta finish up what you're doing. But with this stuff, this is E6000. It's pretty viscous. I mean, it's not very viscous. It's not like water, but it flows pretty nicely, and it takes a while for it to start setting up, which is good for this kind of work. Gives you some time to do the job. Sometimes you'll find that the nozzle drags on this, can be a pain in the butt, but something you gotta work through. All right. It's a forearm workout, squeezing that thing. All right. Heaps of glue in there now, so let's do the front spar. Push that in, get started. Slides right in. Curvature there. Okay, lay in the crossbar. No. Gotta do some more gluing. When I get this stuff glued in, it's a Saturday night. Tomorrow I'm supposed to get 1.5 inches of rain, so if I can get past this gluing stage, and tomorrow it's paint, elevons, all the fun stuff. Hopefully. If she who must be obeyed, Swimbo, allows. Okay, so I'm going to lay in the crossbar. Okay. Now a little shorty side spars. So, these in. Alright, now I got a lot of extra glue here I'm going to scrape off. Don't really scrape it off, this E6000. You more or less just rub it into the voids between the foam cells, and it just kind of squeegees in there and locks stuff in. And man, once it's dry, it just makes a really strong structure. It's really incredible. Kevin Pratt today and I were racing our D28s at the field. He's got a 2205, 25, 22 Puroflip motor. I have a 2206, but I've got saggy old 1800 Forest batteries. He's got some new graphenes, and man, he was trying to keep up with me, and he stuffed this plane right into the dirt. Hard, too, and basically just popped the camera out of it. It got a little bit muddy because the field is a little bit wet today, but plane was fine. I mean, if he wanted to, he could have just hot glued that camera right back in. No big deal. Kept going. Strong plane. Okay. So, okay. Now, you just want to inspect and make sure that you got no spaces here where you might want to put some extra glue in there. I don't see anything here on the bottom, so I squeezed a lot of glue into the bottom there. So we're gonna get the bed out here again, and rather than put the wing right back down on the bed, you know, that E6000 will glue the bed right to the cores. You don't want that, so I just use some parchment paper here. There's probably other, you know, saran wrap or other methods to stop it sticking. I just throw some saran wrap on there, some parchment paper. Sorry. Okay. Make sure it's lined up in that bottom, and then just to make it so it's not ridiculous, I just trim off all the extra parchment paper there. Alright, that's in there pretty good. Now, if you remember, I had talked about how I seen some spots where I wanted a little bit extra glue on top of the spar, so that's what I'm going to do right now. Get my tube so I can squeeze it easier. Okay, and then you just kind of put it right in there, right on top. Okay, whoa, it's oozing everywhere. Okay, do the other side spar. Put a little bit in there. I think that's it. Everywhere, yeah, I think that's it. Everywhere else seems to have, maybe right in here. See a little bit of gap. Maybe I'll just run it right down there and just smear it in with the stick. Do the whole length of it to hell. pilot I'm building this for is, he's good, but boy does he like to crash. He's slow sometimes. Well, he used to be. We nicknamed him Slowpoke. Shout out. Alright. So, before I put this down for bed, I just, you know, I hold it up at arm's length and I eyeball it and make sure that squeezing those spars in didn't really goof anything up too badly. Okay. In other words, like impart some kind of artificial twist that's going to leave some residual stresses in there once it's cured. So front view and the back view looks pretty good. The washout there is still there. I think you can kind of see that here. The washout, for those of you who don't know, is a twist in the tip where the tip twists nose down a little bit more as it comes out. I think it's like 2 or 3 degrees on this wing, and that helps with the like high G pulls at high speed. It keeps the tip of the wing flying longer than the root of the wing, so it doesn't drop a wing and spin out on you in a high speed stall scenario. Alright, this is ready to go to bed, except I want to do another run of parching on this. I cut away a lot of the excess here just so I can make sure that I can see stuff. Make sure that that core is aligned inside the beds. Just make sure that all the edges are aligned properly. Okay. And for now, I'll start with these. Just hold it there. Here's my other weights. Right, I put them away where they belong in the drawer. Couldn't find them. Just one last check, make sure everything's lined up properly before we shut down for the night. Make sure the cores are even with the edge here. Both sides, the middles are nice and flush. And I'm satisfied now that that core is in there. Let those spars cure up overnight, and in the morning we'll have a wing that's much stronger than it is now. Thank you for watching.